Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material in use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Mira, esto para los mexicanos que dicen que acá en Argentina nos cagamos de hambre. Mira, tenemos la comida de usted tirada a la orilla de la ruta, porque nosotros no comemos esta huevada, nosotros comemos carne, ¿entendés? Esto estuviera en México, ya se lo hubieran comido todo.
Sí, probando. 1, 2, 1, 2. Bien. Que conste que tú empezaste, hijo de tu chingada madre. ¿Qué carne vas a comer si no hay nada en tu cocina? Si ya no es Argentina, ahora es hambrentina. Te hice una rola pa' que veas que sí te quiero. Cuando llegues a México, por favor, sé un buen mesero. Argentino, hijo de tu perra madre, hablando de México para poder matarse el hambre. Que te gusta la carne, acá te tengo un pescuezo. ¿En qué término lo quieres, puto?
Crudote o tieso.
Bueno, en primer lugar, agradecerle a Dios, no soy mexicano. Gracias a Dios, eso hace que yo pueda ser más bello de lo normal. Imagínate nacer en México y querer ser lindo, no un milagro. Pero bueno, en primer lugar eso, Freddy Reme, vamos a agradecerle a Dios.
Tu economía por los suelos fuera argenta. Cállese el hocico y muévase a traerme la cuenta. Pa' los argentinos somos nopaleros y ustedes pa' los mexicanos meseros.
Pero che, boludo, somos mejores en el fútbol.
A ver, hijo de tu pinche perra madre, trágate un gol. No todo es la cancha, hay balones, mis sargentos. Mantengan sus damas pa' que no nos cobren.
1500.
Ya porque eres blanco y ojitos de color, te sientes de la realeza, pobre perro, por favor. Pinche convenenciero, vendido gandalla.
Por ganar una batalla traicionaste tu bandera.
Que Miguel es un pendejo, lo dice diariamente. Más pendeja su gente, lo agarró pa' presidente. Vete a nadar en la mierda de tu nación. No salgas huyendo como un puto maricón. ¿Pa' qué vienes a México si según puro narco? Ah, es que las ratas brincan primero del barco.
Los mexicanos salieron de los indios, los brasileros salieron de la selva, pero nosotros los argentinos llegamos de los barcos.
Por mi parte vas y chingas a tu madre cada vez que respires, pinche güero muerto de hambre. Tráete las tortillas acá, ya te tengo un trozo. Y sígale de pendejo queriendo hacerse el gracioso. Seguro anda enojada la güerita de hambrentina, porque un paisano dejó buena propina. Acá nadie los quiere por arrogantes, por presumidos, por perros farsantes. Les dan la mano y quieren agarrar la pata.
No me estés insultando, culero. ¡A huevo! Odio a los negros como tú.
Tú no quieres México, puto, lo haces por plata. Ve, reacciona a tu país, tú reacciona a tus cantantes. Ay, es cierto, no son interesantes.
Un argentino, ¿cómo reconoce a un mexicano? Me suena feo.
Ahora resulta que quieren ser mexicanos, los españoles, argentinos y venezolanos, reaccionando a los videos de nuestros paisanos, generando vistas e ingresos a esos fulanos. Es tan común ya mirar a un extranjero, hablar bien de México pa' generar dinero. Es tan común que nos lamban las pelotas. No sé si eres ciego o aún no lo notas.
Los mexicanos nos cargan con la economía. ¿Y vos qué preferís, tener una buena economía o un buen fútbol?
¿Vos me estás cargando?
Fútbol. Sí. A mí me gusta el fútbol. ¿Qué tiene que ver eso?
Pero que nos cargan los mexicanos, no dicen que somos pobres. Con la guita que tenés, mexicano, te encantaría comprar las Copas del Mundo, te encantaría comprar las Libertadores que tenemos. Que con la guita tapado de guita y nosotros tenemos el fútbol.
No tenés una Libertadores, México.
¿Te das cuenta? No le dejaste nada.
Primera llamada, primera advertencia. A la segunda no voy a tener clemencia. Ya bájale de huevos, pinche güero desabrido. Y zárpele a la chingada por donde se ha venido.
Pensé que era el único que había hablado del tema del CIE, que aparentemente hay más gente, ¿eh? No, porque caí yo como que fui el destructor y la caída de CIE.
Vuelve a mencionarme y esa luz se te apaga. Recuerda que quien riendo la hace llorando la paga. Que detrás de la cámara según eres muy mexicano, pero apagándola sigue siendo la misma mierda arrogante de siempre. Y yo soy Siek, tu pinche padre.
El autor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
Test it, test it. Okay. All right, let's see. Give me a moment. Well. What do we got there? Yep. That right there, family, is called... What the fuck's your name again? Alexander von Wutenauer or some shit like that. Let me say what's up real quick. Oh, what up, sis? We got a very low view today. Maybe it's the algorithm. I don't know. Maybe it's just a fact. Some people are too busy watching football or soccer or some shit or shopping or whatever the hell you guys prefer to do. As you know now, we are in a very chaotic moment. Lots of news going around, lots of confusion, lots of distraction as well. Lots of anxiety, I would say that. So today's class, since I guess it's just me and you, sis, we'll make it work. Today's class is going to be called His Story, White Lies. You can see a gathering here, okay? All across the spectrum, we're going to find out that this is all bullshit here. Okay? From left to right, right to left, it's all lies. Now, for you, and I'll say this, I've been showing our people who they are with history, right? Our relationships, what we lost, who did it to us. But I've also spent a lot of time expressing to y'all that whether you like this book or not, whether you believe in this book or not, whether you have doubts in this book or not, overall, right? Somehow, some way, your story is in here. For some reason, it's the like I find more things that relate to you, right? And it's beyond the necessity to tackle the curses, Ark. I found something very, very interesting, family. And I'm glad that I saved this class because it pertains to exactly our topic. Yeah, as you guys know, man, there's a lot of wars and rumors of wars. We understand that, right? But within this so-called country, corporation, whatever you want to name it, we got a lot of folly going around. We have a lot of people that are being either misled, with ignorance, or they're just plain stupidity. Like it's just plain stupidity, one of the two. So in Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 5, it says that there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceeded from the ruler, right? So here we get an idea. There's an evil, right, that proceeded from people in power. Folly is set in great dignity, like von Wutino, whatever the fuck his German name is. Wutenau, the famous writer of Unexpected Faces. You know, that guy, that fucking guy, right? People in power, people in position where they have the authority or at least the pull to print shit, regardless of whether it's true or not. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low places. Like you that are rich in heritage, right? You brothers and sisters that do listen to this channel, you understand what that means. Right now, we may be sitting in low places, but best believe that your heritage is rich. Now, I'm going to share this with y'all, man. This ain't no fucking 12-type chart channel. Never was, never will be. They have nothing to do with our people. Full stop. That's it. There's no justification. There's no excuses. There's nothing. Okay? Because for whatever reason, I don't know why they don't show these things to you guys. How close you are to this book. No, they just put you aside, tell you you're a fucking donkey. You're lucky to be part of the 12-type chart arc. And we sit in front of y'all and dictate what the fuck to teach or not when they're full of shit. So, this is one example of how also, once, the skirts have been lifted from Babylon, that this folly from these, dignitaries, right? These rulers, right? That sit on this throne, and all of you guys follow what they believe because I don't know whether, again, it's ignorance or stupidity, right? All of that shit is ending. And I'm glad that I'm glad this is a side topic, but not really, because again, this is what we're dealing with. His story, white lies. Because the only reason some people get to push their propaganda, like on TikTok and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like FBAs, wobbles, all these fucking idiots, right? The only way they're able to do that is because people of power allow them to. right? Let's watch this. Let's begin.
Please do not come to the United States. We are not the same country we were 4 months ago. It is not safe here anymore. They can pull you off the street. They can detain you. They'll do God knows what to you. They're doing it to our own citizens. They will do it to you. Please do not support American products. Don't buy American. Don't vacation here. I'm very sorry to say this, and I want to apologize on behalf of all rational Americans in this country who are fighting Trump tooth and nail with everything we have. We're sorry. We're doing the best we can to get rid of this guy. And all his crooked cronies, but we're having a very difficult time doing it. We handed him the keys. An ignorant populace handed him the keys to this king.
They handed him the keys. I'm glad he said it that way. They handed him the keys. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceeded from the ruler. Seriously, you gave him the keys. You gave wickedness keys. Did you not know how many times was he convicted? Did you forget 34? Did you not know that he had some relationship with Epstein? Did you not know that? I mean, did it cross your mind that this guy's never had to work hard ever in his life? He was born into wealth. Did you not know that? All you dumbass so-called Latino Hispanics, y'all fucking voted for this shit. Folly, verse 6, is set in great dignity. Your folly? All of a sudden now you're so righteous. Look, unfortunately, I saw the movie American Homeboy. And everything was cool up until I saw that fucking piece of shit bastard from American Cholo, bro. It's like, you're talking about raza, and why the fuck is he in there? He's not even Chicano. Second, you're talking about the struggle of raza and how we, and man, I appreciated seeing a lot of that video, bro. But then this is the same guy that voted for Trump. You damaged that documentary. Matter of fact, you damaged that shit. It took the air away from what I was watching. I was like, oh, this is cool, bro. And the next thing you know, that folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low places. You're trying to clean up, man, you know what? Not the side point. Because this is beautiful. What I have for y'all is beautiful today. Let's continue.
Kingdom, and we're finding it very difficult to even slow him down, frankly. I think America's done. I hate to say that, but I don't know how much we can do, what we can do to slow this guy down. We're trying very hard. Please don't support us anymore. And to my government, my friends in government all over the world who we dealt with in business, and for so many years, you guys were so good to us all over the place. France, Australia, the United Kingdom, of course, Canada, of course, Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, all over Asia. You guys have been wonderful partners to us for years. I'm so sorry Trump is treating you like dirt. Don't expect anything better from him in the future. He's a tyrant. He wants to be a dictator, and frankly, he's turning into one very quickly.
This is where you realize that this verse that I just read, these verses are powerful. I read you guys verse 4. If your ruler becomes angry with you, do not hand in your resignation. Serious wrongs may be pardoned if you keep calm, so they say. Here is injustice I have seen in the world, an injustice caused by rulers. What is he doing? Stupid people are given positions of authority while the rich are ignored. Stupid people are giving positions of authority. And these are the same people that have allowed these other nations to claim your heritage, even just, let's say, not even biblical heritage. Just like you are Mexican. No, now you're not. Now you're a fucking Mongolian from God knows where. Tartaria, they say. China. But they never put you like even in India or in the Middle East, right? They never do that. It's pretty interesting that they do say that shit. But again, stupidity chooses stupidity.
See any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop.
Not international
and that's
law.
very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt.
Again,
He said his own mind, his own morale. You do know he was convicted 34 times, right? You do know he paid off some chick, right? 130K, right? You do know he's been accused of pedophilia, right? That's his morale. Y'all are in for a freaking ride. And by the way, I don't know if I was the first one to say this, but I did say, I think about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, that WW3 would start with Mexico. Yeah, I said it in the middle of 2024. That's exactly what I did say. In the middle of 2024, I said the WW3 would start there. You know, a lot of people blew me out like, whatever, this guy don't know what he's talking about. A lot of you guys really, you know, this is the thing about our own people. Y'all are envious of your own gente. You are envious sometimes of the fact that sometimes your gente knows more than you. And you can't even give props to those people. You know what I'm saying? That's why this channel has not many subscribers and usually lower views. Every now and then you'll get like 14, 15 maybe, you know what I'm saying? But not usual. Sometimes I think our own people are the detriment to our own selves. Because when you actually get some righteous information, you blow it off as if, nah, that's not true. He's probably a colonizer.
We're having a hard time slowing him down. I'm sorry to say that. Please don't trust this guy. If you're working in government, he makes you a promise. His promise is worth nothing. I've known this guy for 30 years. His word is worthless. And that goes for all of his crooked cronies in our GOP that are supporting him. Do not.
Again, I wanted to give you an idea of what occurs when stupid people are put in positions of authority. And because again, those people that are put in positions of authority are not put in there by luck. Remember, he said, we handed him the keys. We gave him the keys, right? Yeah. This is another example of when folly is so obvious. And again, the herd is what puts these people in position. But let's not forget his story. These people are allowing this history to be spat out because they're all lying. They're all part of this game. Let's go.
Alexander von Wutenau and the multi-ethnic heritage of Mexico. Many people believe that the Mexican people are a homogeneous group of people who are American Indians. Although this is our belief, we know from the research of Dr. Alexander von Wutenau that this is not the case.
So once again, there are people out here that are quick to say, F the white man, F with his knowledge and all that shit. But then they go and use the white man's theories to then tell others who they are or who they're not. Okay.
Dr. von Wutenau came to the United States over 70 years ago. He came to the United States of the Americas as a diplomat. He was a diplomat for the Republic of Germany for many years. Dr. von Wutenau, when he came to the United States, he was struck by the multi-ethnic character of the contemporary country. But what proved to be most striking to Dr. von Wutenau when he moved to Mexico was that Mexico had a multi-ethnic heritage. Dr. von Wutenau was able to discover that the Mexican people was not a homogeneous group of Indians. He discovered that many different groups of people lived in the Americas, and he went about telling the world about this. In 1970, he made a very important poster. In this poster, the Humanitas Americas Mexico in 1970, he was able, in a sense, to show many of the artifacts that he had collected over the years while living in Mexico that showed the multi-ethnic heritage of the ancient American people. Dr. von Wutenau wrote a very important book, and this book was called Pre-Columbian Terracottas. In Pre-Columbian Terracottas, Dr. von Wutenau was able to demonstrate to the world the multi-ethnic heritage of the Mexican people by showing these terracottas. What makes these terracottas so important and make them very interesting is that many of these terracottas are very small. In fact, they can be held in the hand. And although they can be held in the hand, these terracottas show that they were not Indians, but they were Africans. They were.
A ver, que alguien me explique.
Who are you?
Yeah, let's continue.
Semitic people. There were whites. Von Wutenau was able, in a sense, to write a new history of Mexico, a pictorial history of Mexico, which indicates that the Mexicans were not a homogeneous group, that many people came to the ancient world. Back in during this period, Dr. von Wutenau decided to extend his research further. What Dr. von Wutenau did is that he went to travel throughout many places in the old world, in Africa, to try to determine where these people may have came from. He went to Africa, including a visit to Egypt, and he eventually led to writing his most important book, the most important book that relates to the ancient Mexicans. And this book was called Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. In Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, Dr. von Wutenau was able, in a sense, to show that there were many different types of people who lived in Mexico. He showed that there were Africans, Semitic people. He's especially interested in the Semitic people because of the fact that the Semitic people often wore beards, and we find many bearded people in Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. He also showed those beautiful terracotta heads, these heads that are very tiny, small. They can fit between the fingers of the hand, and yet they are so graphic in illustrating the multi-ethnic character of the Americas. Over the years, Dr. von Wutenau, who published Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, became aware of even new researches that related to the various peoples who lived in the Americas. He therefore published his own edition of Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, that went out of print. In this edition of Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, Dr. von Wutenau began to really, in a sense, illustrate and outline in more detail his ideas about the ancient people who lived in the Americas. In his second edition of the book, which was published in 1980, Dr. von Wutenau was able, in a sense, to explore even new avenues which showed a relationship between the various people of Mexico and the old world. He was especially competent in his discussion of the various skeletal remains that indicated an old world origin for many Mexicans. And he became excited about the research of a young scholar back in the 1970s named Clyde Winters. He was excited about the research of Clyde Winters because Clyde Winters had recently published an article in 1979 in the Journal of African Civilization where he deciphered the Olmec writing. Dr. Wutenau found this exciting, and as a result of the research of Dr. Winters, he made the first wide distribution of Dr. Winters' research in his book, Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, the second and third edition. In this book, he also had a very beautiful poster. And this poster was very beautiful because in this poster, he had the head or the statue of the ancient Kushite ruler Taharqa. And what he did is that he surrounded this statue of Taharqa with many of the giant heads.
There he goes right there. The African kings of Kush in something and the Olmecs in America. All right. Is this even in Central Africa? Or is this even in West Africa? Or is this even in South Africa? No. It's in the eastern part of Africa. Really next to other nations, like literally. But, you know, that's not necessarily the point. Let's just finish this off.
Heads that were found in Mexico. He showed how these Olmec heads had many of the helmets or helmet style which was similar to the various Kushite and other peoples of Africa. In 1980, as a result of his meeting Dr. Winters, Dr. Winters and Dr. von Wutenau went on a lecture tour in 1980, and they traveled to many places in the United States talking about the fact that many of the Olmecs were of African origin. And
see, so now I think it's clear. I think it's very clear. All right. And this is where it's as blunt as it gets when it's his story. White lies. Very obvious, man. You know, the Bible talked about something similar. Leviticus 26:22 talks about something like this. It says, here, I'll read it in King James for now. It says, verse 22, I will send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children. Let me tell you something. When it comes to beasts, it doesn't necessarily always mean animals, like as in dogs and cats. It means people as well. Robbing your children, not only physically, but mentally. And destroy your cattle. And make you few in numbers. And your high places shall be desolate. Now check this out. Wild beast among you. Wild beast among you, right? Ecclesiastes 3:18 gives us a real clear understanding of what this means. Ecclesiastes 3:18 says, and I said in my heart concerning the state of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, that they might see that they themselves are beasts. So here we see that people with a bestiality-like mentality will come and try to really, really take away shit that doesn't belong to them. You know what I mean?
There were no Indians here when Christopher Columbus got here. There were people from Africa who had been here for over 10,000 years before Christopher Columbus was born. It's time for us to teach our children the truth.
All right, Americans.
They lie to you. The true indigenous people, they are black. Original Cubans, dark skin, nappy hair. Indigenous Americans, they change the story, they change the faces.
Now that I got all your attention and pissed many of you off, which is my intention. What, you thought I would apologize? No, actually. I ask you to use that pissed off energy and direct it at the correct sources. Everyone has been lied to. Not just you, Native Americans. Not just you, the indigenous copper-colored Americans, also known as the so-called Black Americans. Not just you, Latin Americans. Not just you, Asians. Everyone has been fooled. Stories fucked over in one way or another. And then there's us, the descendants and sharers of the race and genetics of the liars and the ones who hurt you all. We could spend our time coming up with a solution in this moment. But what neither party, race, government, deity, religion, gender identity, or criminal status will stop is the truth. It's gonna continue to surface. You can either be on the side of the truth, or you can be on the side of the division. Either way, the truth will be an ever-revealing force for a very long time in our lives. So ask yourselves, what will we do with this truth going forward? Will we remain divided and perpetuate lies about what belongs to who? Or will you just get to the point of understanding that the truth is not what you believed it to be? Even if you still question if black people come from Africa, at least genuinely ask yourself for real. Does it change the fact that they are still here now? And truly, no matter what any of us think, when all of this fails, everyone is gonna have to work together anyway. Why not hash this out now? Everyone come to peace and focus on the real problem. Because everyone has a right to their genealogy and the truth about their history. It is not one group's sole right to tell someone where they originated from, especially when your culture had other hands in its origin story. That's not a dig, it's a reference point. Everyone is caught up on the illusion of ownership and belonging, when we all have to share this place at the end of the day. And if we all agree that we've been lied to, that means the truth is going to be hell to reveal. Because everyone deserves the right to the truth and the authenticity of their origins. So if the so-called Black Americans are having a discovery, you might want to listen. Because we all can agree, historically, black people have never been wrong about anything. Everything they warn us about happens. This video is just that.
Hello guys. On this video, I want to unpack America's last hidden indigenous black connection about Christopher Columbus, the lies and everything. There's something I want to unpack here on history, because a lot of us, we don't know much about the lies we were told, you know.
Mind you, fam, he's not defending that. Not at all. And you know, we hear this dumb shit all the time, bro. Like, my mama told me. And then this Christopher Columbus, America's first fool. Yeah, all of this, whatever, this and that, yada, yada, yada. And then we have, you know, this right here. Even though, like, okay, let's continue. But again, white lies, white history. Very convenient, isn't it? And they always show these pictures, like, you know, they have a color on them. Evidence including pre-Columbian African skeleton. I've shared with y'all many books regarding what Columbus saw. Has it ever occurred to you guys that these people also look Samoan? But I guess they didn't come, right? Then now we have, again, you weren't taught history the way you were taught. Oh, how long have we been knowing this, fam? We've been knowing this for quite some time now. Let me hear this here. I didn't get to hear this because it's probably going to be the same old shit. Let's go.
Christopher Columbus. Matter of fact, let's take it way back. It actually starts with this guy, King Ferdinand, who was the king of Aragon in 1479. He married Queen Isabella, who was the Queen of Castile. Now, this led to the unification of Spain in 1469. Now, Columbus was an entrepreneur trying to find a way to get to Asia from Europe. Instead of going east over land, he wanted to go west. Everybody looked at Columbus like a dummy because everyone believed the earth was flat. They believed if you went...
Once again, we're talking about lies. This is not true. This is not true at all. Now, listen to this, family, okay? I think this is the section. Hold on, let me see. Hold on, let me see something real quick. Give me a moment. Give me a notice moment. Let me see. Hold on. Let's see. All right, let's go here. Here's where he starts clearing some things up. All right, let's listen to this. Let's go.
Africa were in America before 1492. Africans arrived in the Americans very early after European contact. And some Africans, they went to America as sailors, translators, as soldiers, some as free people, And after colonization, Africans escaped plantations. Indigenous people resisted colonization and they joined forces. And this created the Maroon societies. It created Afro-Indigenous communities. It created shared resistance cultures, And this is documented across Brazil, across the Caribbean, across Colombia, across Mexico, across Central America. So it is true. It is true there is a deep indigenous black connection. But it formed through shared oppression and resistance, not Asian biblical migration. You know what I mean?
I have been telling you that what actually occurred last class, 2 classes ago. I got deep into this particular thing here. You know what I'm saying? And why? Here's why I wanted to run this video. And Columbus and the Hebrew code, right? Hebrew code. Why are they putting those things together? Okay, we're done with that. I'm going to share some stuff with y'all, family. I'm going to say this right now, and I've shared this since this channel began. We have nothing in common with these people. These people do not share our history. They did not go through what we went through, nor did we go through what they went through. We never were able to enslave the white man. They did. They were able to enslave the white man, and they were able to enslave you too. Do you understand what that means? Like, don't let these things pass you by. Like we here at least try to be, hey, look, listen, the way it should be taught. Yeah, you're right. The true history of the Negro conquistadors since 1492. You're right. We should teach that.
Turn around and say that we and the Mexicans are not the same. You're delusional. You are delusional. Because we and they have struggled along with all of the Latino, Caribbean, Central and South America for thousands of years. It's in your history books. It's in your history books all the way back to the Assyrian Empire. It's back to the Egyptians. The Egyptians have their records in the Grand Canyon where the Latino tribes were living, which was filled. It wasn't just California. You better reach all into Nevada and all of those states, those so-called desert states, Arizona. That's why Arizona, they hate Latinos so much. They hate them.
What are you talking about, bro? Most of the people in Arizona are raza. And the reason why usually they were outvoted was because of the gerrymandering. The reason why this is important, family, for you to understand where your heritage stands and how come these things matter is because, you know what, whether you like it or not, man, I'm going to keep showing you the similarities of what you are or what you've experienced or what your heritage, your ancestors heard, said, or expressed. And it literally puts you right in the middle. Baruch 4:15 talks about something similar. For he had brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation. Like, shame on you for fucking lying in the first place. We got nothing in common with y'all. Matter of fact, look, see, the brother said a good point. Black people want to be the first samurai warrior. Dr. Savvy stealing Mexican indigenous herbs as... There you go. Thank you. I mean, that's one example. A shameless nation. Because since 1492, people that look like you too came and they weren't on our side. Maybe some of y'all got away, but predominantly, nah. You made it very clear since the beginning of time. For he had brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation of a strange language, who neither reverent old men nor pitied the child. That's Deuteronomy 28:49. I'm sorry, verse 50. A fierce countenance. You know what's so interesting, family? See, because this is getting good. You know, here's why. In 2 Maccabees chapter 5, verse 1, it says, about the same time in Antiochus prepared his second voyage into Egypt. And then it happened that through all the city, for the space of almost 40 days, they were seen horsemen running in air and enclothed of gold and armed in lances like a band of soldiers and troops of horsemen in array, encountering and running one against another with shakings of shield and multiple pikes and drawing of swords and casting of darts and glittering of golden ornaments and harness of all sorts. Wherefore every man prayed that the apparition might turn to good. So here we see that before the destruction of Jerusalem, right, they foresaw people fighting in the sky. Now you're like, okay, and I'm going to show you something real quick. Okay? I'm going to show you something real quick. And I wanted to wait on this after, but let me do it now. Because I think it's important. Where are you? Here it goes, right here. Okay. So this book is called Memoriales de Fray Toribio de Motolinia, manuscritos de la colección del Señor de Don Joaquín García, 1903. So I was going to share this with you in a little bit, but I figured, shoot, might as well read it now. Because I want to let y'all know that this is, how can I say this? See, I've shared with you guys how the Llorona matches your history. I shared with you guys how your diet, your clothing, your folklore, your instruments, the diseases, chanclas, I mean, all kinds of stuff, right? Now, this blew my mind when I read it. It says here, de las señales pronósticos que el Señor de México y los naturales tuvieron antes de la destrucción de México. So the prophecies that they saw prior to them being destroyed, right? Prior to the destruction. Okay? I want you to pay attention to this. La experiencia nos enseña y la escritura sagrada lo aprueba que cuando alguna gran tribulación ha de venir o Dios quiere mostrar algunas cosas notables, primero muestra a Dios algunas señales en el cielo o en la tierra. right? Says your God, in case you guys don't know, God tends to provide you like glimpse of what is about to occur, right? This is the way he communicates. Then it says here, I'm going to skip it a little bit. Y de aquí es que comúnmente antes de las mortandadas y pestilencias suelen aparecer cometas, y antes de las grandes hambres anteceden terremotos o tempestas. Antes de las destrucciones de los reinos o provincias aparecen terribles visiones. Then it says, y así leemos que en tiempo de Antíoco, antes de la destrucción de Jerusalén y del templo, por espacio de 40 días, fueron vistos por el aire caballos que discurrían y gentes armadas con lanzas y reales y escuadrones de gente en otras muchas cosas como en el dicho capítulo parece. Basically, Maccabees, right? They saw these like a war going on in the sky, okay? So he says, just like how we read in 2nd Maccabees, all right? Watch this. Bien así aconteció que antes de la destrucción de México, de la conquista de España o de esta nueva España, antes que los cristianos entrasen en esta tierra, fueron vistas en el aire gente que parecían pelear unos contra otros. Y de esta señal nunca vista en esta tierra, los indios quedaron muy maravillados. Let me remind you what you're reading right now. Just like in Maccabees, okay? How people saw before the destruction of Jerusalem an apparition of troops arrayed in gold clothing, armed with lances, band of soldiers, right? Just the same way. And in verse 4 it says, wherefore every man prayed that the apparition might turn to good. Just in the same way, in Spanish, here, let me see if I can translate it in English so you guys can see. Translate. There it goes. It says, thus it happened that before the destruction of Mexico, before the conquest of this new Spain, before the Christians entered this land, people were seen in the air who seemed to be fighting each other. And at this sign, never before seen in this land, the Indians were greatly amazed. Cuando ya los españoles venían por la mar para entrar en esta tierra de Anahuac, entre otros que tenían presos para sacrificar en el barrio de Tenochtitlán, que se llamaba Tlatelulco, estaba un indio, el cual debía de ser hombre de simplicidad y que vivía en la ley de naturaleza sin ofensa. Cada de estos hay algunos que no saben sino obedecer lo que les mandan y estarse al rincón y vivir sin ningún prejuicio. Este indio que digo, sabiendo que le habían de sacrificar, prestó llamada en su corazón a Dios, y vino en él un mensajero del cielo, que los indios llamaban ave del cielo, porque traía diadema y a crown. Y después que han visto los indios como pintamos los ángeles, dicen que era de aquella manera. Este ángel dijo a aquel indio, ten fuerza y confiesa, no temas, que Dios del cielo habrá de ti misericordia. Y de a estos que ahora sacrifican y derraman sangre, que muy pronto cesará el sacrificar y el derramamiento de sangre humana, y que ya vienen los que han de mandar y enseñorearse en la tierra. Y dijo estas cosas a los indios del Tlatelulco y las notaron. Y este indio murió llamando a Dios del cielo y fue sacrificado. y ahora está la horca del Tlatelulco en medio del mercado. I guess that's where they did it in the middle. So he was basically saying that some angel came and told them, don't be afraid. This all will end. Why am I showing you this? Why is this important? Because once again, when do you hear this apply to other people? When? And this is why, family, they're trying to pull a fast one on you here. See, what they don't want you to know is how deep your connection is to all of this here. So now let me show you something. Let's backtrack a little bit so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Okay? There is this guy named Bernard de Sagahun. Okay? Bernardino de Sagahun was a Franciscan friar, missionary priest, and pioneering ethnographer who participated in the Catholic evangelization of the colonial New Spain. All right? Now, why is this character important? This character is important because of this. All right? This is the book I've shared with y'all before. Let me go back to it real quick. Hold on. The 10 Tribes. The 10 tribes of Israel historically identified with the Aborigines of the Western Hemisphere. Okay. Let me show you this real quick. Now, be mindful. Be mindful. Watch what it says here. I want you to be mindful of what we're reading. Preliminary notions of Spanish historians. Remember what I said, what we read earlier? The first verse that I gave y'all? Remember the first verse? Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 5. It says, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and as an error which proceedeth from the rulers. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low places, right? So we have leaderships, people in power that are basically in authority. They feed you what you want, what you know. It's called propaganda. They decide what should be published. And they allow certain people to teach certain things, right? Watch this. In order to form a just estimate of the value of testimony, it is necessary to obtain some knowledge of those who record it, since respectability and authentic source of information constitute their claim to the attention in regards to the reader. Remember that? That's almost like what we're watching. You see, I don't bring you no fucking Alexander van Wooten Danau and then claim some fucking heritage that does not belong to you. No. I use facts. I don't go with nonfiction bullshit. Paint the pictures, pull like culomeado moves and shit. I don't do like none of that culomeo shit. Like snippets and then don't give you the whole picture. Then it says here, remember, keep in mind, it says it's necessary. It's necessary. Since respectability and authentic sources of information constitute their claim to the attention in regard to the reader. So, the duration of their sojourn, their perfect knowledge of the language, records, and antiquities of people whose manners and customs they narrate, as well as the relative circumstances in which they themselves were placed, and the interests with which they were connected, are all to be taken in consideration. So, Van Wooten, who the fuck are you? Some old man that saw a bunch of, statues and shit and started collecting them. You couldn't even date them properly. You even admitted yourself, oh, no, it wasn't necessarily black skin. They put tar on it. The fuck you mean, put tar on it? You give people, 6 heads? And yet there's thousands of others, and that shit doesn't matter. Hey, don't look at that. Hey, don't look, hey, stupid, don't look at that. Look at this, stupid. These early, okay, now I need you to pay attention. This is where you need to consider what the history that we were fed for a long time, right? And that's trying to be pushed again. The Spanish historians, whose names frequently occur in this work, were all members of the Romanist communion. Watch this. The greater part ecclesiastics, and, as their name indicates, chiefly of Hebrew descent. Supposedly Jews. So the first historians that were here, most conversals, were mostly of Jewish descent, predominantly Sephardics, DICK types. So now the majority of the people that wrote about you were actually giving you credit because they saw similarities in the things that they were learning themselves. The name of the Most High, nobody knew until they got here. And I have proof from another document that actually shows that name often, Yahoo. Anyways, those early Spanish writers unanimously recognized and acknowledged the manifold analogies which demonstrate the transference of the Levitical economy to the new continent. You see this? Those early ones, the ones that first got here. But while some of them discern in this circumstance an undisputable proof of the Hebrew origin of the newly discovered people, others accounted for this as a facsimile resemblance by asserting that Satan had counterfeited in this people whom he had chosen for himself. You see this shit right here? Oh my God. Again, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? That right there. His stories, white lies, which includes all of these dumbass characters on the bottom. The history, manner, customs, traditions, and expectations of the Hebrew in order, right? So now, let's continue, because he mentions several people. Okay. Who was Sagahun? He was a famous writer. Okay. Here on page 7, Sagahun, right? It says, Sagahun further complained that he was forcibly deprived of the very valuable paintings representing the great temple with the court by which it was surrounded, which he says was sent to Spain. It is very evident that everything in Mexico, calculated to draw attention to the ancient history of the country, more specifically if connected with religious recollections, was carefully removed from notice. Immediately after the conquest, pieces of sculptures were mutilated or buried. Paintings were burned. Temples and edifices, which from their size it was impossible to destroy, were suffered to fall into oblivion. The magnificent monuments of ancient art, such as the temples of Palenque and the palaces of Mitlan, were passed unnoticed by Spanish authors. Sagahun, when engaged in the compilation of his history after it had been taken away from him and again restored, received 3 cautions. First, to write nothing to prove that the Hebrews had colonized the New World. Secondly, to be guarded in what he said of the devils having imitated God in taking to himself a chosen people in the New World and counterfeiting the rites and ceremonies of the Jews. And thirdly, not to advocate the hypothesis that Christianity had ever been proclaimed to the Indians or to treat largely on the history of Quetzalcoatl. Do you understand what that means? This famous writer was told not to write anything about you. Nothing. Now, this book here that we have, okay, let's show you this. It's called Gutiérrez Tebón, Historia del Nombre de la Fundación de México. Okay. We're going to go to page 97. And he's actually mentioned in this book. And the other book that I showed you guys, the Motalino, I believe. Hold on. Let me see where you're at. Etymology. This is capítulo tercero, etimología de México, meaning the etymology of the name Mexico. Okay. So I wanted to share this with y'all because he is mentioned here in this book. Okay. Let me show you something real quick. There it goes right there. Sagahun and Motilinia. Remember, Motilinia was this right here. right? Okay, so we're talking about Sagahun and Motilinha right here. These are people that were writing about us in our history back then. This is actually a really good, interesting book, family. I would actually advise you to read it. Again, it's right there. Memorias del Fray Toribio de Motilinha. Okay, so in this book here, they're actually saying that estos mexicanos son los mismos de Culjua, right? They're referencing the name Culjua with the name Mexicano. But here's where I want to show you something. Mexico, nombre hebreo. So him, Sagahun, and Motilinha both agreed, and other writers, that the name Mexico was a Hebrew name. So here's what I dislike so much about these fucking camps, bro. These camps, you know what they really emphasize? To let go of your like Mexica name. They told you, oh no, Mexican was given to you by the Spaniards. Mexicans were given to you by the Spaniards. That's not true. Matter of fact, it's not true at all. Because in this very same book, and I believe it's this one, because I was reading a lot, fam, and I took notes as best as I could. But I believe it's this one, where it talks about the name. ¿Cuándo se fundó México? En el sentido alegórico, quien la fundó y muy grandes males. Like, when was, this city, México, founded? Entraron en esta tierra los mexicanos según haya por sus libros y memoriales de figuras tienen. Eran libros de muy de ver, muy bien pintados, de figuras y caracteres, en los cuales tenían memoria de sus antiguellas, así como lineajes, guerras, vencimientos o otras muchas memorias, por los cuales libros se halla con los mexicanos vinieron a esta Nueva España, contando hasta este presente año del 1540, 448 años. He aquí se edificó Tenochtitlán 240 años, right? So here he's actually talking about the history of Mexico and all this stuff, but I think it's on page 42? Hold on. Yeah, page 43, right? ¿Por qué causa México su nombre por dos nombres? So basically it says México, según la etimología de esta lengua, algunos la querían interpretar fuente o manadero, right? They try to say like, oh, el ombligo de la pinche. Shut the fuck up, bitch, I don't know shit. Y en la verdad, let's see, hold on. Por lo cual parece esta interpretación no ir muy fuerte de propósito. Pero los naturales dicen que aquel nombre de México trajeron sus primeros fundadores y se llamaban Mexitli. Boom. No fucking Spaniard gave you that name, bro. No Spaniard gave you that name. You dumbass BHIs don't know what you're talking about. Especially IUIC teaches that shit. Don't call yourself Mexican. The Spaniards named you that shit. It's because y'all don't know history, bro. Because we have nothing in common. You have no connection or spirit to us. Ever. And you guys that are in those rooms, it's not that you connect with them. It's you trying to be like them. You can't be yourself. That's the problem. Every time I see it, y'all, you're just like them. You're a reflection of them. You're not you. You just want to be them. Y aún después de algún tiempo, los moradores de ella se llamaron Mexitli, o Mexiti, I think Mexili, o Mexiti. Este nombre tomaron ellos de su principal dios o ídolo, el cual tenía dos nombres. Convenía saber Huitzilopochtli y el otro Mexitli. Y de este Mexitli se llamaron Mexiti. Mexiti al sitio pues al sitio poblaron pues al sitio pueblo pusieron nombre Tenochtitlán, porque ahí hallaron que salía de una piedra un árbol con una fruta, nuchli, I believe, y a la piedra llaman tetl, I think that's how you say it, tetl. Something to that effect. I'm not great at Nahuatl, so forgive me. But as you can see, the name was not given to us by no Spaniards, nothing like that, right? The name, we took it from the principal God, so to speak. Now, in case you don't know, Mexica means anointed. In case you don't know. But see, so when we go back into this history, right, and we see and we actually reflect on what occurred here. Why was Sagahun told not to read? I mean, not to write about this. Who told him not to? Who gave him that authority? Like, what was wrong? What in the world would be wrong by us learning these things, right? Okay, well, I'll give you an example. The Lutheran newsletter, it's a Protestant newsletter, was pushing back against the Catholics, obviously, throwing a jab at them. Printed in one of their newsletters of September 7th, 1900, okay? Like the year 1900. Watch what it says, and it gives us a very good understanding as to who had what to say and who decided who would be able to print. Dr. Francis S. Borden relates the following about the first Bible printed in Mexico. In the Christian Advocate, the printing press came to Mexico in 1539, for in that year there was printed in Mexico in Spanish a brief compendium of Christian doctrine, which we understand now from Mysteries of Mexican Pyramids, that you are only allowed to learn Ave Maria, Credo, Diez Mandamientos, Padre Nuestro, Rosario, and that's it. Reading and writing, anything outside of that, you'd fucking get killed or whiplashed. So they made sure that you had nothing else to do but just those particular things. And guess what the funny part is? The only reason we were supposed to learn those was because those were required for you to learn when you went to when you went to the priest to admit your sins. So they were there to enslave you mentally and spiritually. Here, learn these 4 things, and you only need them when you come to the church and you tell me about all the nasty shit you did. And then I'll tell you, siete Ave Marias, dos Padre Nuestros, and chinga tu madre, güey. You know what I mean? Like that. Then he says here, a brief compendium of Christian doctrine under the auspice of the famous Bishop Fray Juan Zumarraga. This man was the one in authority. He was the one that took everything away from Sagahun because he had the power. That was just 81 years before the Mayflower brought the first pilgrims to the Plymouth Bay. From 1539 to 1810, when the immortal Hidalgo raised his cry of Mexican independence, and during the 270 years of Spanish rule and misrule in Mexico, Spain not only did not give Mexico a Bible, but sternly prohibited the publication of any part of the sacred scriptures in the language of the Mexican people. That prohibition is still enforced with regards to the printing of the Bible in the 32 dialects. 32 different languages and dialects spoken in Mexico City. You see that? Finally, between 1831 and 1833, appeared a 25-volume with an atlas and cost over $200, so that still remain a prohibited book to the great majority of the people. So you see that. So Sagahun told this guy, Zumarraga told Sagahun, give me all your shit. Don't write about this, none of that. Don't write about none of that. Okay? Be mindful of it. And then they only gave him what they wanted. But the one thing that he did say was, as a friar, you have to teach these Indians. You have to teach these Indians that they can only read or learn these 3 things. It says there, I'll start here. Those who failed to pay were tortured to death. Indians who refused to join the Catholic Church were horsewhipped. They had their heads shaved. Don't they do that to Raza now when they put you in jail? And were forbidden to hold office or title in their villages. For failing to attend mass or practicing any old rites, an Indian could receive 100 lashes. According to the Spaniards, but based on the Christian compendium implemented by Zumarraga, right? The Indians were supposed to know only the Our Father, Ave Maria, Credo, and 10 Commandments. Reading and writing were considered as dangerous as the devil. This is in 1492 or early 15 whatever, right? Keep that in mind. And we read that the Lutheran newsletter was saying that these guys didn't even let us print. They didn't even let us read the Bible until, I don't know, fam, if you really think about it, probably 100 years ago. So think about it. Connect all these dots. Start connecting all these dots, right? And then you get even deeper into these things. Because once you start learning a little bit more about like who we are, man. There's this book that I have. It's called La Llorona, right? And in this book, it actually mentions our understanding of what the legend was. That a nation from afar would come. The history of the Llorona has been twisted in a lot of different forms. You know what I'm saying? But there's only one true real story to it. It says on page 12, that Llorona is the story of a spirit that refuses to die. It begins in such a remote antiquity and on such an elaborate platform that time has enhanced its presence rather than diminish it. Yes, it has evolved, but it took shape in the cauldron of the creation, and the burst of gods and goddesses coming into being. This was a time when the Mexica, pronounced Mexica, anointed, the Mesoamerican tribes were establishing their source of origin, yada, yada, yada. Okay. It says here, let's see, Mexica gave them a country. The Mexica people gave the name of the country of Mexico and the Mexican people of today. Their ancient name being Mexicanos. This is where Chicanos, mistakenly called Latinos and Hispanics, get their name from. So you're only a Chicano technically if you're a Mexica of that bloodline. If you're Honduran, Salvadoreño, or whatever, I don't give a fuck. You ain't Chicano. Like, that's why you voted for Trump. You know what I mean? That's obvious. You don't understand the struggle. It's not in your spirit. Now, this is it also continuing, okay? It's called the seven caves and all that stuff, right? But here's the important part. La Llorona is directly connected to the mother creator of humanity, Cihuacuatl, the serpent lady goddess. Cihuatl means woman, Coatl means serpent, right? The serpent is a symbol of spiritual intelligence. Figurines of Cihuacuatl can still be found in some Mexican marketplaces and in some mercados in the United States, okay? It says here, it is said that the Llorona is the spirit of a woman in eternal search for her children that drown, but the tragedy is based on a deeper and historically real continental catastrophe. Cihuacuatl was an all-knowing goddess. She knew that forces from other parts of the world would attack the native Mexica empire and bring its destruction. Her heirs was the first scream in Nahuatl that would cry, "Ay, mis hijos." Shortly before Hernan Cortez landed in Veracruz in 1519, the warning anguish could already be heard in the kingdom. Oh, my children. And like we read in the other book that I shared with you all, right? It actually talks about that our people foresaw the same thing that happened before the destruction of Jerusalem. Remember this right here? 2 Maccabees 5:2. And then it appeared through all the city for the space of almost 40 days. They were seen horsemen running in air and clothed of gold and armed in lances with a band of soldiers, the troops of horsemen in array, encountering and running one against another with shakings of the shield and multitudes of spikes, drawing of swords and of casting of darts and glittering of golden ornaments and harness of all sorts. Wherefore every man prayed that apparition might turn to good. So remember, we saw this. This is, he's talking about where the name came from. But when you go to page 53, he mentions it right here. It's in Spanish. So it says here, y así leemos que en el tiempo de Antíoco, antes de la destrucción de Jerusalén y del templo, por espacio de 40 días fueron vistos por el cielo caballos que discurrían y gente armada con lanzas y reales y escuadrones de gente y otras muchas cosas como el dicho capítulo parece, meaning 2 Maccabees 5:3 and 4. Well, guess what, family? The same thing that we knew was going to happen was because of the apparitions. Bien así aconteció que antes de la destrucción de México, de la conquista de esta Nueva España, antes que los cristianos entraron a esta tierra, fueron vistos en el aire gente que parecían pelear con unas con otras, y de estas señales nunca vistas en la tierra, los indios quedaron muy maravillados. Translated, thus it happened that before the destruction of Mexico, before the conquest of New Spain, before the Christians entered this land, people were seen in the air who seemed to be fighting each other. And at this sign never seen before in this land, the Indians were greatly amazed. You're like, well, but what? Like, what? This is why they did not want Sagahun to write about you. This is why they made sure to take that history away. This is why. Because the more you learn about who you are, the more you realize how much you're missing. Look at Siwansa, Mexican cyclography is stated to have been lost through the negligence of its heirs, and many other interesting works are said to have been perished or been lost in a similar manner. It has been remarked before that the Office of Royal Historiographers of the Indies does not appear to have been instituted solely for the purpose of promoting the cause of truth and in the increase of knowledge. And it may be further observed that the Council of the Indies, which took cognizance of all the writers treating of America, requiring that they should be, previously to publication, submitted to a strict censorship with the power of recalling or prohibiting, even after the publication, any work that they thought fit proceeded in a diametrical opposite spirit. These converts, these are not the Khazars just yet, these are the Sephardics, were also in power at that time, controlled the printing press. In 1538, there was some guy named, God, I can't remember who, to be honest. I'm not lying to you, fam. I'll bring it up another day, but it was definitely him and Sumarraga that were working together. And I believe Sumarraga was a converso. I don't think he was not a converso. I think he was fully involved in that. I also shared this book before with y'all. This was the one from Yucatan, right? Now I'm going to come back to this here, but let me share something with you guys. Hold on. Here it goes. This is on page, 41. Remember that other photo here? Let me show it to you. Remember I showed you guys this from Occupied America and how they changed our structure, right? Before the arrival of the Spaniards, women generally married when they were about 20 years old. In another change that took place after the arrival of the Spaniards, however, church friars encouraged females to marry 12 to 14, right? And early reproduction resulted in health disorders, including anemia. So this also started changing the patriarchal structure. Why? Here's why, fam. These fucking bastards. You will pay, without a doubt. This is from that Yucatan, right? Page 41, confirming. In the olden times, they married at the age of 20, but now at that of 12 and 13. For this reason, they divorce more easily because they marry without love and ignorant of married life and duties of married people. And if their parents could not persuade them to return to their wives, they hunted them down and others. With equal ease, men with children left their wives with no anxiety lest another might take them as wives, or that they themselves might later return to them. Nevertheless, they are very jealous and do not lightly suffer infidelity on their wives' part. And now that they see that the Spaniards kill their wives for this reason, they are beginning to maltreat and even kill them. In cases of divorce, small children stay with their mothers, while the grown-up went with their fathers and the girls with their mothers. You see how they would change these particular structures? Here's where it gets even more interesting. I don't want to forget this point, right? But here's where it gets more very interesting, because it often talks about the divorce of structure, and it's so biblical, man. It's just out of this world. But now you see that this is also biblical, getting married at 20. When you look at Numbers 118, that's what they instruct the men to at least consider marriage. Let's see, is this one it? Check this out. This is why it was bad what they did, bro. They changed everything upside down for us. And some of us still practice this, by the way. The fathers were at great care to seek in good season wives for their sons of equal rank and condition. And for this, men to seek their wives themselves were regarded as undignified, as well as for the parents of the women to make advances. In these matters, they left the proprietary steps in charge of the other person for care. These then negotiated, dealt together, discussed the dowry and the settlement, which was not large. This the youth father gave to the prospective father-in-law, while the girl's mother prepared garments for the bride and for the child. It's no different than when you read Tobit, the actual process of marriage. The parents talk, the kids get along, they start courting, the parents talk about it, okay, great. Then they set up an actual event to get married. The day of the marriage having arrived, they all gather at the house of the fiance's father, where the repast had been prepared. The guests met with the young couple and their relatives. The priest assured himself that the latter had given the matter of due consideration, right? So now we're talking about an actual marriage contract. Gave the young man his wife. If it was settled for him to receive her that night, and after this, the banquet took place. Now, from that day, the son-in-law remained in his father's house for 5 to 6 years, working for him. If he failed in this, he was driven from the house, but the mother arranged always for the wife to supply her husband with food as a mark of marriage. So here it says that, kind of like Jacob, when he married wanted to marry the daughter, right? The dad said, okay, come work for me, and I'll let you marry my daughter. It's almost the same shit here. I mean, come on, man. Like, how could, come on, seriously, fam. I mean, how can you not see this? How can you not see the beauty of your heritage? How can you not see why they want to take this shit from you? Look, even then we suffered of this. The Indians are very desolate in drinking and becoming intoxicated, and many ills follow their excess in this way. They kill each other, violate their beds, and poor women thinking they are receiving their own husbands. They treat their own fathers and mothers as if they were in a house of enemies. You see this? This is it. They set fire to their house, and so they destroy themselves in drunkenness. Isn't that what occurred to a lot of native brothers up north? A lot of you guys hate us. Watch this real quick. Remember about the communalism that we had? The Indians have an excellent custom of helping each other in all their works. That's just something that Raza does. And the Wabos, did we take that away from you too? Y'all love helping each other? At the same time of planting, those who have no people of their own to do it, join together in bands of 20 or more or less, and all labor together to complete the labor of each, and all duly measured, and do not stop until all it's finished, which is the way we work. The land today are in common, and whoever occupies a place first holds it. They sow in different places so that if the crop is short one, the other will make up. Watch this. This is very common too within our people. In making visits, the Indians always carry a gift according to their quality, and the one visitor returns the gift with another. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me see. Yep, like the fiestas and shit. This does not have a return, except that if 100 Indians have invite to one feast, all are invited by him when it makes a feast or marries his children. You see, that's why La Raza, when we get married, we have big parties. Their principal substance is maize, of which they prepare various dishes and drinks. They eat and even drunk as they do it. It serves as their food and drink. The Indian women put maize to soak the night before in lime and water. In the morning, it is soft and half cooked, having in the process lost the husk and nib. They then grind it in stone, and when half ground, makes it into great ball and loads it for the use of labor, travelers, and sailors. In that shape, it keeps for several months, except soaring. Of this, they then take a lump and dissolve it in the vessel and guard formed by the rim of a fruit that grows on a tree, whereby God has provided them with vessels. Out of this, they drink the liquor and they eat the rest. It's being of excellent taste and very nourishing. So you can make atole out of corn. I think that's what they're talking about. From maize that is more fully ground, they take away the milk and thicken it at the fire and make a sort of a curd for morning use. And they drink hot. Now, this is atole, I think. One of the two is. Upon what is left from the morning, they put water for drinking through the day, since they are not accustomed to drinking water alone. They also toast the maize and grind it and mix it with water into a very refreshing drink, pour it into a little Indian pepper or cocoa. Out of maize or ground cocoa, they take a sort of a froth that is very delicious and with which they celebrate their festivals. They prepare many kinds of breads, goods, healthful, except that it is not good to eat when cold, so that the Indian women are kept busy with making it twice a day. So it's basically true. Like once the let's say tamales get cold and you make them out of masa, they don't taste good. You have to refry them, and I'm sure they don't have a fryer. Or when you make tortillas out of that and they get hard, it's not good anymore. But again, did we steal this shit from you too, bro? So now let's just kind of let me just kind of finish it off a little bit here. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. One more. I got one more. Because I've showed you guys the other books in the past. But here you see the Compendio del Arte de la Lengua Mexicana. So here, Horacio Carochi, between 1579 and 1662, right? It was printed in 1759. They're trying to learn the Maya language, or the Del Arte Mexicano. And look at the name that shows up often. You know what that is? In their pronunciations, they see this. Yahoo. Or Y-A-H-U. All over the place. What are you going to say to that? Seriously? This is in here. See? Yahoo, Yahoo, Yahoo. Yo voy, Yahoo, Yahoo, Yahoo. Tihui. Niao, Yao, Yao. Hui, Hui. Tihui and Hui, Hui. I don't know what that means. Tiahui, and then it says Tiakan. But the pronunciation Yahoo or Yao is a very famous, once again, I've shared with y'all before 1520, none of you foreigners knew the name of our creator. And that's a fact. We can go to the Crania Americana, right? I shared this with before. On page 68, okay, it debunks the whole copper color theory, a copper color theory. And it's here where you actually see it. I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to reference them to you, okay? Because I've shared these with you before. In the James Adair, right? The Indians are of a copper or red clay color. Page 2, 3, 4, 5, all are clear as to what we look like. I'll even give you one example. James Deere on page 5. I mean, just right off the bat, he gets to the point. The lips of the Indians are generally thin. Talking about, bro? Go into again. Hold on a second. Once more. Let me go back. This is the history of the American Indians, James Deere. You can go to a view of the Hebrews, Ethan Smith, and start reading on page 84. And he clearly states, clarifies, and he also references James Deere. That's why I'm not reading. I've shared these books with y'all before. Don't forget this book, The Origin of Our Name. Don't forget this book. You can go through it. I provide sources so you guys can understand that this is your history. This is what they're trying to take. The 10 tribes historically identified. This is a heavy-duty one. Hernandez Soto, I already shared this with y'all before, man. Here he clearly sees, bro, they didn't see no light skin. They didn't see no dark skinned people here. What the fuck are you talking about, man? What do you mean, bro? Who raised you? All over this place. So we got Crane Americana. See, hold on. Make sure I don't forget. Oh, and then the Promised Lands. The lost tribe was the Promised Lands, page 94. So we have Samuel Morton, Crane Americana, page 68. Promised Lands, page 94. Okay, the Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, page 94. James Deere, page 1 through 6. Ethan Smith, skin tone, start at page 84. Hernandez Soto, it's really obvious, man. It's just like, it's just nonstop. You know what I mean? There's no denying that who the hell we are. It's just a matter of you guys just picking up the damn material and reading the shit. I don't know how our people can get easily compounded at times by buffoonery. I mean, to me, it blows my mind, man. Like, this is very easy to debunk. Very easy to debunk. Not complicated either. You know? And I'm not just like, whoa, bro, come on. I mean, it's just, is this even real? For real? Hernandez Soto, page 87. This one right here. Page 87. Right here. It's very simple. It's not even complicated. You know? Watch this. It says here, it says they exceed us in size. They are of very fair complexion. Some of them incline more to a white, and others to a tawny color. Their faces are sharp, their hair long and black. Upon adorning of which they bestow great pains, their eyes are black and sharp, their expression mild and pleasant, greatly resembling the antique. Their women are of some form and beauty, very graceful, very fine in countenance, and pleasing appearance in manner and modesty. Manner and modesty. I wonder if that relates. I mean, how much more do you want me to show you, bro? And then also the book La Llorona, I shared that with y'all. The Book of Yucatan, I shared that with y'all. Occupied America, I shared that with y'all. El Compendio del Arte de Lenguas, I've shared that with y'all. Right? Newton Liu's letter, the Mexican pyramids, page 16. Let's see what else. Yeah, matter of fact, let me show you something real quick. I'll show this out. See, because remember, you know how Colomados in his group, like they love to, use pictures and shit, right? I want to share this with you. Hold on.
Hoy lo vamos a hacer de la mano de Bernardino de Sahagún, un fraile franciscano nacido en Sahagún, instruido en Salamanca, con amplios conocimientos de latín, historia, filosofía, teología, un hombre muy bien formado.
You see, so Sagahun was very well known, very knowledgeable, knew different languages. He was the one that they told not to write about us. Okay? And this is the book that he actually mentions.
Catecismo de la doctrina cristiana en lengua
Check this out.
mexicana, escrita en 1583. Además, estaba acompañado de figuras, de pictogramas, que era lo que estos indígenas tenían como escritura. Porque todas
cultures they encountered in America were illiterate cultures. That is, they did not know how to write and, therefore, they had nothing to transmit their knowledge based on writing, which is the truly effective way.
Like, what about these pictures? You see this here? What about these people? How come this is ignored? Why don't you bring this up? Not convenient, huh? It's not convenient, is it? Look at these pictures. What are we talking about here? Do they look African? Do these look African? Do they? Does that? Does that look African? Or are you just going to focus on that one? Is that what you're going to focus on? Because you guys do that. You just take a picture of this here. Or, shit, you'll even take a picture of that. But then when you look through, like, in their detail, like, bro, I don't see, what you guys have noses like that? Are these Africans? I mean, are we really going to fall for the okie doke and shit here? They're going to use this over here? Is that what you're going to do? What's convenient? What about these pictures? How come these are never brought out? Or this one? Or this one? Or this one? Do they look African to you? No, I don't know what to tell you, fam. Anyways, I hope it was edifying, man. I'm going to show you some videos and I'm done. You know, because he shares with y'all. Let me see if this is it.
Witnessing the rise of anti-Semitism around the world like never before. For many poor elderly Jews, their dream of making Aliyah one day and coming home to Israel is extremely difficult, if not impossible. But you can change all of that today for one precious Jew. Even in a time of war, the safety and shalom of moving to Israel under God's protection and his covenant promise to bring his chosen people home is why we're asking you today to partner with us. The cost to rescue one Jew and purchase a seat on an upcoming Fellowship Aliyah Freedom Flight is $710. With a donation to the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews of $35, you'll help one poor elderly Jew out of a life of hopelessness and anti-Semitism to start a brand new life in Israel. Here's how you can reach 800-342-0044. 800-342-0044.
Yeah, been bamboozled. You guys been bamboozled. I told you guys. Hey, right wingers, yo, you felt. What risk do you take? You felt for the okie doke. They told you to with all the what the hell? What's going on? They told you to, deport all immigrants. They're your enemy. We're not the enemy. They're your enemy. And then within this movement, you see the Christian Zionists supporting that message. And you Nazi dumbasses who hate these quote unquote Jews didn't realize that they were feeding you the hate towards us. You already had hate towards us, but you didn't realize that they were like puppeteering your ass. You know, like that's how stupid y'all are. I'm glad you just found out because it's too late now.
¿Ustedes en qué se exponen con todas las majaderías que le dicen a la compañera presidenta? ¿En qué se exponen con todas las majaderías que le decían al compañero presidente López Obrador? ¿En qué se exponen con lo que vengan a decir aquí que somos una bancada de mafiosos? No se exponen en nada. Pueden buscar reventar sesiones, pueden faltar al respeto, pueden injuriar, pueden denostar y saben que no les pasa nada porque viven en un país de libertades que le costó la vida a muchos compañeros y compañeras nuestras y a la cual ustedes no han aportado absolutamente nada. Pandilla de farsantes. Gracias. ¿Ustedes en qué se exponen?
¿Qué los enoja?
Obrador.
¿Obrador todavía? ¿Ya se fue?
No.
¿Obrador sigue?
Claro, porque
al menos
se fue porque sí. Okay. El peor es de dónde te lo quitas, si de aquí o de aquí.
Hoy les está enojando, yo he escuchado que dicen, primero lo acusaban de dictador, que se iba a quedar, que se iba a perpetuar.
Con Claudia.
Y pero ahora lo están extrañando. Ahora dicen, ¿dónde está López Obrador?
No lo extrañan. No. Se duermen con él, se levantan con él. Sí, es tremendo, es brutal. O sea, dices, es una cuestión para mí patológica. ¿Por qué? Porque los hizo añicos, cabrón. Los destrozó, los exhibió. ¿Cómo se puede hacer eso solamente con honestidad?
All right, fam, I got something to show you real quick, and we're going to finish it. Fuck, dude, you guys already left. Oh, well, it is what it is. Not everybody's sticking around. Hey, there's a lot of football for you to enjoy. There's a lot of football today, going on. Go get yourselves your beers. Go chill out. Go enjoy whatever's left of your little moments and shit. You know what I mean? Like, fill your spirit up with that, because that's what you all want. You guys all want to live in a cloud. We don't live in a cloud. We understand what's going on in the situation here. Pay attention to this message, man. All right? Check this out. And I'm going to show you a video after, or be real.
En el tema del narco, juegan de la misma cancha. Bueno, porque Estados Unidos no quitó a López Obrador, porque Estados Unidos no buscó derrocar a López Obrador, porque el incendio es el país. ¿Cómo es posible que ganen personajes como Trump, o como Ted Cruz, o como Marco Rubio en Texas? Mucha de la comunidad judía está en contra del genocidio en Gaza. Mucha de la comunidad judía está en contra de lo que hace Donald Trump. De repente en 2018 te aparece un tipo, egresado del UNAM, proveniente de Tabasco, un tipo que viene de una política social, un tipo para el cual el nacionalismo importa, un tipo para el cual la soberanía importa, un tipo para el cual México no tiene por qué estar dependiendo de otros. Y entonces ese tipo de repente agarra y te dice, ¿sabes qué? Voy a empezar a recuperar mi soberanía. Voy a empezar a tomar decisiones. Voy a quitar eso de guerra, porque el tener un término guerra implica muchas cosas, mucha letalidad, mucha brutalidad de parte del propio Estado. Y López Obrador llega y dice, señores, se acabó la guerra, aquí yo no tengo guerra con nadie. Y vas en contra de un designio norteamericano que te habla de seguridad. Que te dice, no, tú tienes que seguir mi política de seguridad. López Obrador dice, no, sí.
Esa es la famosa frase, brazos no balazos. ¿verdad?
Brazos no balazos. ¿Por qué? Y todo el mundo dice, el abrazo no balazos. Nunca dejó de combatir al crimen López Obrador. Podemos hablar si la estrategia fue la mejor. Podemos discutir si no hubo corrupción, que la hubo lamentablemente. Podemos hablar si se equivocaron en algunos puntos, que sí se equivocaron en otros. Pero no decía que no iban a combatirlos. Los combatieron como tenían que combatirlos. ¿Cómo? Las causas, como lo que hace Sheinbaum en Michoacán.
El tejido social.
Atender, claro, recuperar el tejido social para evitar la violencia. ¿A quién no le conviene eso? Al poder económico. A ese poder económico neoliberal que quiere generar pobreza, porque la pobreza son el campo perfecto de que se vayan a matar por 1,000 pesos a la semana a los chavos. Entonces, cuando tú les pones becas a los chavos, entonces, ¿qué es el poder económico? No, hombre, es un comunista, ¿no? O sea, lo está agrediendo. O sea, ¿pero por qué? Porque estás mostrando que el modelo que te impusieron no funciona, que el modelo que tú estás mostrando sí funciona, el modelo con un rostro social como tal. López Obrador para a los agentes de la DEA, para a los agentes de la CIA, dicen, no,
lo saca.
Lo saca literalmente, o les pide simplemente que digan lo que están haciendo en México.
mucho pedir.
Pues demasiado para esas personas, ¿no? Que
Sí,
con
claro.
Calderón hacían lo que les venía en gana.
Claro.
Corrompían lo que tenían que corromper, cuando es una de las agencias más corruptas que hay, la de la DEA. Pero ¿cuál es el tema? Que López Obrador dio pasos para recuperar una soberanía securitaria muy difícil de recuperar por la integración militar que existe entre ambos ejércitos, que es en parte lo que comentamos hace un momento. Por eso te decía ese contexto del ejército mexicano y el ejército de Estados Unidos. Hay una compenetración y sincronía tal cual, que eso nos mantiene unidos también. La unión con Estados Unidos no solamente es comercial, no solamente es migratoria, es securitaria, porque los ejércitos que están metidos en el tema del narco juegan de la misma cancha. Entonces, ¿cuál es el punto ahí? ¿Por dónde va el asunto? López Obrador intenta recuperando el tejido social, recuperando la Guardia Nacional, recuperando por un lado, porque en el ejército hay mucha gente también honesta que quiere recuperar su soberanía y que quiere luchar por su libertad. Y por supuesto que hay filtros y hay choques al interior como tales. Claro, ¿cuál es el tema aquí? Que López Obrador de repente le va poniendo puntos a Estados Unidos, va recuperándolos. Sheinbaum llega y dice, yo me mantengo, no hay guerra. Sí empieza a operar de una manera más directa con Omar García Harfuch para controlar incluso en un momento dado los propios Estados Unidos, para dar el siguiente paso en ese combate, que es, ya no solamente voy por las causas, ahora sí voy sobre ustedes. Ajá, ¿cuál es el asunto? Ahí que te topas. ¿Qué es lo que busca Estados Unidos? Ok, tú me detienes a 2, yo te pongo 3. Y te sigo generando una violencia. Por eso es tan importante que tengan un éxito en esto. Si México detiene, que no lo ha podido hacer por muchas razones, pero detuviera la violencia en Sinaloa, tendría un punto a su favor para negociar con Estados Unidos, porque le habría quitado la generación de violencia a la DEA en el estado de Sinaloa.
¿Será posible eso?
Yo lo veo muy complicado por la forma como ellos operan. Entonces yo lo que te diría ahorita, respondiendo a esta primera pregunta, es, yo no veo a México hoy hincado, veo a México hoy tratando de levantarse. Y Estados Unidos no quiere. Es como cuando tú te quieres levantar y el otro te pone la mano y te quiere bajar y tú no quieres que te baje. Y hay ese forcejeo en donde sí, el riesgo no está solamente en regresar a lo que éramos. El riesgo está peor, porque hoy tenemos enfrente a un presidente anti-mexicano. Todos los presidentes de Estados Unidos son unos criminales de guerra, todos sin excepción. Todos tienen cola que les pisen brutales. Barack Obama, su premio Nobel de la Paz. Barack Obama bombardeó hospitales, bombardeó escuelas. Todos tienen cola que les pisen. ¿Cuál es el tema? Que Trump es anti-mexicano. Ninguno era anti-mexicano. Trump sí lo es. Trump y su grupo del poder no pueden ver a México y no pueden ver un gobierno que piense distinto a sus intereses como tal. Entonces, hoy te diría eso. Yo no veo a México hincado. Yo veo a México tratando de levantarse. El tema es si lo va a lograr en un momento dado y lo que va a tener que hacer para lograrlo. Y es ahí donde tendremos que estar muy atentos todos, porque vaya que Estados Unidos va a generar conflictos más fuertes en México.
Porque tú decías un tema que a mí se me hace muy interesante y es, Estados Unidos hoy tiene a un dragón y a un oso respirándole en la nuca. Este monstruo de 3 cabezas, que hablas perfectamente bien, tiene esa gran presión, ¿no? Y al último busca geográfica y geopolíticamente, pues, la adhesión cueste lo que cueste de México. ¿Tú crees que se busque de una forma directa como se ha buscado en otras partes de Latinoamérica? Pues hablo de Venezuela, por ejemplo. Se dio a conocer que incluso habían intentado comprar al piloto de la nave en la que iba Nicolás Maduro, el presidente que le llaman dictador en Estados Unidos, para entregarlo. ¿Tú crees que se llegue a esa situación? Porque geográficamente, pues estamos tan cerca que al último generar una explosión así de grande tampoco conviene.
Mira, lo vimos con el propio López Obrador.
A ver.
Estados Unidos, hay gente que te pregunta, bueno, ¿por qué Estados Unidos no quitó a López Obrador? ¿Por qué Estados Unidos no buscó derrocar a López Obrador? Porque el incendio es el país. Porque el pueblo se hubiera levantado, literalmente. ¿Qué es lo que le gusta a ese sistema? Al sistema le gusta generar caos controlado, no generar un pueblo que se levanta. Un pueblo que se levanta no es caos controlado, es un reto real a un Estado. Por lo tanto, no van a provocar una inmersión de ese tipo. Pero sí te pueden provocar un nivel de inestabilidad que genere que incluso la población busque sacar un gobierno. Lo estamos viendo.
A ver.
Tienes a tontos útiles, perdón que lo diga así, pero no es ofensa, es descripción. Sí, literal, como Salinas Pliego, como Alejandro Moreno, como Lili Téllez, como Ricardo Anaya, como varios comentócratas y opinócratas, quienes le hacen el juego a Estados Unidos creando un escenario golpista, un escenario de caos, un escenario de narcotráfico totalmente desatado, un escenario en donde la gente crea que está en el peor de los momentos y peor completamente de los episodios. Esos grupos comienzan a operar localmente. Tratan de convencer al ciudadano de que el gobierno de Sheinbaum es un fracaso. Entonces lo que buscas es que los pobladores, los ciudadanos, sean los que empiecen a reclamar porque el gobierno no es capaz de enfrentar una situación. Ese plan no le da a Salinas Pliego ni a los otros para armarlo. Eso lo crea un embajador como Ron Johnson, que es experto en todo eso. Él busca que haya un Estado como el de El Salvador, una política que se llegue a ese nivel como en el de El Salvador. Y en México ya lo experimentamos y no sirvió para nada. Pero él lo busca también. Y sabe bien que Sheinbaum no es la persona más indicada para ello. Eso lo puede buscar Ron Johnson. Crear el caos suficiente para que tú mismo como ciudadano empieces a dudar de tus líderes. ¿Qué es lo que mantiene a Sheinbaum libre de muchas cosas y le da fuerza a la presidenta para negociar con Trump? El cariño de la gente, la seguridad de la gente. La gente está convencida de que Claudia los va a defender. ¿Cómo les pegas? En su credibilidad. ¿Cómo debilitas a un líder? Acuérdate que hay un concepto que Estados Unidos maneja desde hace mucho, que es la guerra psicológica, la guerra híbrida. En la guerra psicológica, lo más importante no es derrotar al enemigo a punta de balazos, es colonizarlo mentalmente y culturalmente.
Claro.
Que ese pueblo se vea derrotado como tal. ¿En qué momento un pueblo se ve derrotado? ¿Cuando entra un ejército invasor o cuando te balean? No. Cuando tus líderes caen como tal. Cuando tus líderes son dañados, cuando tus líderes son desprestigiados, cuando dejas de creer en esos líderes. ¿Cómo logras eso? Golpeando su credibilidad. Y eso es lo que hoy por hoy intentan hacer como uno de los primeros pasos. No tiene capacidad Sheinbaum, es un gobierno dictatorial, te va a traicionar, ya la dobló Trump. ¿Para qué? Para que tú como sociedad empieces a dudar de ese liderazgo. Eso es lo que están haciendo en la actualidad. Y eso es lo que están buscando. Por eso es la respuesta que te daría a esa pregunta. ¿Por qué no lo hace? Porque no le conviene hacerlo de la forma como uno pensaría. Yo no veo al ejército de Estados Unidos marchando por la Ciudad de México, ni veo los drones, los aviones volando, no. Pero sí veo asesinatos selectivos, sí veo ataques con drones para generar esa psicosis en un momento dado, insisto, si México no cede. Porque tocaste un punto que la lógica nos diría cierto, y tendrías toda la razón. A Estados Unidos no le conviene poner en jaque a su socio comercial. Pero la gran pregunta es, ¿Trump tiene lógica? O sea, llevamos años diciendo, primero dijimos, Trump no llega. Sí. Y llegó. Después dijimos, no se va a atrever a hacer esto. Y se atrevió.
Pero a él le quedan 2 años.
Le quedan 2 años, pero al trumpismo no.
¿Crees que el trumpismo sigue en Estados Unidos?
Es probable.
Porque acaban de perder Nueva York.
Es un buen tema ese. Yo creo que no me atrevería a decirte que sí. Yo te diría que yo confío en que la sociedad de Estados Unidos empiece a despertar y se empiece a dar cuenta que personajes de esta naturaleza los ponen en mucho riesgo. ¿Cuál es el problema? En Estados Unidos no hay democracia. En Estados Unidos hay una plutocracia. En Estados Unidos no gana el que mejor campaña hace, gana el que más dinero mete.
Claro.
Entonces, tú tienes ahí que ver a los plutócratas. Tienes que ver a la gente de poder, de dinero. Cómo juegan ellos, qué les interesa a ellos. Y entonces son ellos los que van determinando qué corriente les conviene más. Hoy les conviene un presidente que ponga aranceles porque están convencidos de que eso los va a fortalecer a ellos. No al pueblo estadounidense, a ellos. El caso de Mandani.
¿Ellos quiénes?
A la oligarquía, al sistema, a un Peter Thiel, a un Musk, a un Bezos, a todos estos personajes, ahora agregándoles a los tecnofundalistas. Pero el caso de Mandani es un caso que ojalá me equivoque. Me parece un aire muy fresco, cierto, pero no sería el primero que vemos en Estados Unidos y que después por diferentes razones se va desinflando. Tiene una agenda muy atrevida, una agenda para los Estados Unidos. Para mí está perfecta, pero tiene una agenda que para Estados Unidos es brutal. Encarar a BlackRock, encarar a Airbnb.
All right, so now he gets into what he thinks regarding politics, right? So I'm not really caring for that. I mean, it's important to know, but his angle is different. So now, thank you, bro, for putting this on your channel. This is all be revealed, bros. If you guys don't know who he is,
a ton of cocaine, pure cocaine.
He's putting up some stuff. Not this video, actually, not this guy, but he forwarded me this. So hopefully they don't no la bloquean. Hopefully not. I don't think so. If they do, well, I may have to. They'll either stop me or I may have to trim it out. So hope you enjoy it, fam. I mean, this is informative. You know what I'm saying? Like, just stick around, take some notes, or it's always recorded. But the books that I provided y'all, man, please get them, download them, and save them. Let's go.
Worth hundreds of millions is smuggled into the United States. Sound familiar? Not the way this ton of cocaine got here. According to what the former head of the Drug Enforcement Administration told Mike Wallace, this drug shipment got here courtesy of what he calls drug trafficking by the CIA in partnership with the Venezuelan National Guard. While rumors of CIA involvement in drug trafficking have circulated for years, no one in the U.S. government has ever before publicly charged the CIA with this kind of wrongdoing. And it's not the kind of accusation anyone in government would make without thinking long and hard.
Let me understand what you're saying. A ton of cocaine was smuggled into the United States of America by the Venezuelan National Guard?
Well,
in cooperation with the CIA?
That's exactly what appears to have happened.
Until last month, Judge Robert Bonner was the head of the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA. And Judge Bonner explained to us that only the head of the DEA is authorized to approve the transportation of any illegal narcotics like cocaine into this country, even if the CIA is bringing it in.
Let me put it this way, Mike. If this has not been approved by DEA or an appropriate law enforcement authority in the United States, then it's illegal. It's called drug trafficking. It's called drug smuggling.
So what you're saying, in effect, is the CIA broke the law. Simple as that.
I don't think there's any other way you can rationalize around it, assuming, as I think we can, that there was some knowledge on the part of CIA, at least some participation in approving or condoning this to be done.
Judge Bonner says he came to that conclusion after a 2-year secret investigation conducted by the DEA's Office of Professional Responsibility in cooperation with the CIA's own Inspector General. And what reason did the CIA have for promoting this drug smuggling?
Well, the only rationale that's ever been offered is that this would lead to some valuable drug intelligence about the Colombian cartels.
Over half of the Colombian drug cartel's cocaine crosses the border with Venezuela on its way to the United States and Europe. Back in the 1980s, the CIA was mandated by then-President Reagan to develop intelligence on the Colombian drug cartels. And so the CIA, with Venezuela's Guardia Nacional, or National Guard, set up an undercover operation, a drug smuggling operation in Venezuela that could handle the transshipment of the Colombian cartel's cocaine on its way to market. The plan was to infiltrate the cartel, and it worked. For the CIA National Guard undercover operation quickly accumulated this cocaine, over 1.5 tons, that was smuggled from Colombia into Venezuela inside these trucks, and then was stored here at the CIA-financed Counter-Narcotics Intelligence Center in Caracas. The center's commander and the CIA's man in Venezuela was National Guard General Ramon Guillen Davila.
I tried to work together with them. I was always aware that they were not telling me everything they were doing.
Annabelle Grimm was a DEA agent with 18 years' experience when she was made agent in charge in Caracas. And she says that the CIA station chief, James Campbell, and this man, Mark McFarland, the CIA officer in charge at the center, told her that to keep the undercover smuggling operation credible, they had to keep the cartel happy. And the way to do that was simple. Deliver their dope, untouched by U.S. law enforcement, to the cartel's distributors, their dope dealers in the United States.
The CIA and the Guardia Nacional wanted to let cocaine go on into the traffic without doing anything. They wanted to let it come up to the United States, no surveillance, no nothing.
In other words, you weren't going to stop them in Miami or Houston or wherever. These drugs were simply going to go to the United States and then go into the traffic and eventually reach the streets.
That's what they wanted to do, yes. And we had very, very lengthy discussions where I told them what the U.S. law was and the fact that we could not do this.
So here you got Jim Campbell, chief of station, who knows about this. Mark McFarland, CIA officer, knows about this, and are stimulating this business of sending what are uncontrolled deliveries of drugs, smuggling drugs into the United States, right?
Right.
Why in the world would they want to do that?
As they explained to me, that this would enable them to gain the traffickers' confidence, keep their informant cool, and it would result in future seizures of larger quantities of drugs. And also they hoped to, I guess they thought they were going to get Pablo Escobar at the scene of the crime or something, which I found personally ludicrous.
But if Annabelle Grimm thought this was ludicrous, the CIA station chief James Campbell did not. He enlisted the assistance of CIA headquarters in Washington to get approval for the drug shipments. And his bosses at the CIA in Washington went over Annabelle Grimm's head directly to her bosses at DEA headquarters in Washington.
They made this proposal, and we said, no way, we will not permit this. It should not go forward. And then, apparently, it went forward anyway.
The joint DEA-CIA investigation we mentioned earlier confirmed that over 1 ton of cocaine made its way from the Counter-Narcotics Center in Caracas to the streets of the United States. And they discovered that at one point, General Guillen's National Guard tried to ship 1,500 kilos at once.
They were not successful in that because apparently the package they had put together was too large. It wouldn't fit on the plane.
General Guillen admits to the bungled operation.
It was too big for the airplane door because the plane was a 707.
The box was too big to get into the airplane? $30 million worth of cargo, drugs, all these officials, the Venezuelans, the Americans, the Colombians, all so stupid that they don't have a box that's small enough to fit inside their own airplane.
The traffickers made a mistake with the plane.
Is it possible that General Guillen was doing this on his own without the knowledge of the CIA?
I would find it very difficult for several reasons to believe that they did not know what was going on. They built, they ran, they controlled that center. General Guillen and his officers didn't go to the bathroom without telling Mark McFarland or the CIA what they were going to do.
The drug smuggling operation finally unraveled nearly a year after Annabelle Grimm says she told the CIA and General Guillen that it was illegal to send drugs uncontrolled into the U.S. Then, a shipment arrived at Miami's International Airport and was seized, coincidentally, by U.S. Customs. Customs traced those drugs back to the Venezuelan National Guard. But General Guillen told us that operation had been approved by U.S. authorities.
Look, what I see here is that there is a problem between the CIA and the DEA, and perhaps they are trying to find a fall guy who is General Guillen. If I had anything to do with illegal drug trafficking, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
General Guillen is right about one thing. He could travel to New York to talk to us about Judge Bonner's charges only because he had already been granted immunity from prosecution in that DEA CIA Inspector General's investigation. So we confronted the general with this document, a report from that investigation that reads like his confession.
Guillen lost his composure and when directly confronted concerning his involvement in the unauthorized and illegal shipment of cocaine to the U.S., confesses.
Look, I say that confession is not true. In that report, there are a lot of lies. It's useless. I have not confessed anywhere.
So you're clean?
Clean until the last day God has for me.
So far, there has been no legal action against General Guillen. As for the CIA officers, well, Judge Bonner may believe that someone at the agency must have known, but the CIA and the U.S. Department of Justice say they have discovered, quote, no evidence of criminal wrongdoing. However, the CIA did acknowledge to us that the investigation, quote, did reveal instances of poor judgment and management, leading to disciplinary actions for several CIA officers. Mark McFarland, the CIA officer in charge of the Counter-Narcotics Center, resigned from the agency last year. We tried to talk to him, but he told us the CIA would take legal action against him if he violated his secrecy agreement with the agency. As for James Campbell, the CIA station chief, we learned he was brought back to the U.S. and promoted, but then he retired. Campbell did tell us, quote, I've devoted my life to my country and feel like a victim in this thing. This happened without our knowledge. We were there to prevent it. While CIA headquarters declined to answer our questions on camera, off camera, a CIA official involved in the Venezuelan cocaine operation did.
We talked to some people at CIA. They say the DEA does the same thing all the time. They let drugs walk. They let drugs into the traffic, look the other way, to further a more important goal.
It's absolutely untrue. And frankly, maybe it displays the kind of ignorance that makes the CIA dangerous in this area. It is wrong for an agency of the U.S. government to facilitate and participate in allowing drugs to reach the streets. And apparently, you know, if the CIA doesn't understand that, then I would be concerned that this kind of incident could be repeated.
The CIA advised us they had recently briefed the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Dennis DeConcini, and they urged us to talk with him, apparently believing he would defend the operation.
It was an operation that I don't think they should have been involved in.
No question the drugs got in.
I don't doubt that the drugs got in here.
You'd think that maybe the agency would want to say, okay, we made a mistake.
I think they made a mistake, and you hope when these mistakes are made that, hell, not too many more of them are, particularly when the mistake is a large quantity of substance like this that can kill people, and probably did.
We asked the senator why no one in the CIA has been prosecuted for bringing in the drugs.
You would seem to think there would be a good case there.
Case against?
Against an American who knew anything about it. But, you know, I've been a prosecutor, Mike, and you have to look at the case, convince a jury or a judge not to throw the case out. The Justice Department reviewed that, and they decided not to prosecute these individuals from the agency.
And what about the vaunted intelligence gathered from the whole CIA anti-drug caper in Venezuela?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, I don't know of any because from what I know, no valuable intelligence of any kind was produced from this operation.
What intelligence was generated by the shipment of this 1,000 to 1,500 kilos? Controlled or uncontrolled?
It was very positive.
Really? Who did you finger? What did you find out?
Right now, a truck driver and the truck that were trafficking drugs into Venezuela are under arrest. There was another truck, and two similar van types were also caught.
So what you're saying is that you captured 3 or 4 or 5 truck drivers. I'm asking about intelligence in the United States that was generated by the actual shipment of these kilos into the United States.
Now, whether or not here in the United States they arrested anyone or the intelligence gathered was useless, that is the responsibility of the Americans.
After speaking to us, General Guillen traveled to Miami where federal agents found him and served him with a subpoena to appear before a newly revived grand jury investigation into the CIA's cocaine. But the word out of Venezuela is that the government there will not permit him to testify.
I look at that 1,000 kilos, at least that 1,000 kilos. I look at the fact, I mean, Mike, you're a taxpayer, and that was U.S. taxpayer money that built that center, that funded it, that maintained it. And I really take great exception to the fact that that 1,000 kilos came in funded by U.S. taxpayer money, and it hit the streets of the United States. I find that particularly appalling when you look at all the damaged lives that 1,000 kilos represents.
And what happened to the tens of millions that were paid for the CIA's cocaine? Well, General Guillen insists he didn't get any of it. But Judge Bonner says one thing is certain. The Colombian cartel did. They got their money once the dope made it to our streets.
So who is the real narco-terrorist?
All right, fam. Hope it was edifying. The last part of the class was obviously videos, you know what I'm saying? But take advantage of the first part because we went pretty deep on the yo, what the? Yeah. And it was pretty heavy. Hope you guys appreciate that. All right. Yeah. Take care and see y'all maybe at the end of next week. All right. Rato. Shalom. Saludos. Buenas noches a todos. Buenos días and buenas tardes for you that watch across the world.
En la Plaza de Reyes, Black 50, soplón. Yeah. ¿Qué vas a saber? ¿Qué vas a saber tú? Oye, chibolito, falto me. Pulpín de los pulpines, batería de Rapunzel, de rapeos, de raptos, de lagartos en cuartel. Cualquier la pega de cruel con un viejo coronel. Soy flojo, se me antojó dormirme en el laurel. Eleve mi level con un label y un Faber-Castell. Ya un papel, lo empape con sangre de todo aquel que se jura Nobel y no ve mis trenes en la riel. What's so man? ¿Por qué no sacan la tablet? Juro por mis aguas que no te hablo por las powers. Soy chinchado neto, búscame por pico sour y te voy a meter al centro loco como Beckenbauer. Escúchame atento mi bro, que estamos rompiéndole en pro. El negro de Plaza de Reyes como siempre rompe de este micrófono. Que quiere meterle como yo pero no puede meterle taco pro. Si te pensaba que solo era un gallo, déjame decirle que se equivocó. Real motherfucker feeling on the street. Es el Black Sheep Mental de Plaza de Kings. Motherfucker soplón.
Nero Luis, man, desempeño en la victoria para que sepa. Incas Mo, Money Gang Gang, yeah, yeah, Yo también he llorado, gente. También me han desplazado por mi rasgo afrodescendiente. Sí, un perro no habla pero siente. Cuento historias callejeras pa' barrios de delincuentes. Y soy un perro que te ladra, que te muerde y que te huele, nene. Soy más que Lele, ustedes para mí son pelele. Con mi jauría todo el día en busca de los cheles. Tengo un perro en fiscalía que nos mueve los papeles. Y otro en la comisaría para evitar el susto. Muchas veces me han llevado por solo como luzco. Perdón, madre mía, si yo le causé un disgusto. Pero en esta vía yo crecí rodeado de perros chuscos. Yo sé que me quieren ganar, yo sé que me quieren tumbar y no pasará porque soy de verdad. La super rafina, la Dodo Style, metido en latina aprendiendo un style. Yo tengo el style, no mido la raza del perro, yo mido por la lealtad y yo soy leal, yeah. La calle te enseña lo que no te enseña la universidad, yeah. Saliste ese peña aquí con una seña te tiran para atrás, yeah. La calle limeña aquí nadie la dueña, ya nada es igual, yeah. Tiene que respetar, yeah. Tiene que respetar, yeah. La calle te enseña lo que no te enseña la universidad, yeah. Saliste ese peña aquí con una seña te tiran para atrás, yeah. La calle limeña aquí nada le dueña, ya nada es igual, yeah. Tienes que respetar, yeah. Si yo soy tu papá, yeah, yeah, yeah. Es Incas Mob, negro, yeah. Es Incas Mob, nigga, yeah. Nero Luigi, man, Incas Mob, yeah. It's Money Gang, 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 yeah.
Hey, yo. Yango en la maldita casa. Me llaman pa' que les dé al menos una vez al mes. Se metieron al lago y olvidaron que era el mes. For everybody bless. La fama es una puta, me está llamando a las 3. Dile que llame después de las 16 y 25. Volví de la infancia de Abraham Lincoln. Con fuerza ya inco, luchando para salir del rincón. Letra callejera en CD brinco. Under del under, puede que tu viejo te lo mande. Sale de vez en cuando como el cóndor por los Andes. Mi cuerpo no es de madera como Dandy. Antes que me branden, yo seré la ola que los expande. Aunque esto me pique en la madera, no sirven ni para romper el ticket de un evento afuera. Loco por la carrera, desafían la gravedad. Yo espero tras la barrera y llego con la novedad. Niña, tú solo espera que ya encontré la manera. He visto bastante por querer lograrlo saltando escalones dentro de la escalera. La vida me puso al depósito, yo soy de púlpito pa' que el mundo conociéramos de esta parte mejor interprete que paro de esta cordillera. Sin luz afuera, que el espectáculo es dentro. La calle es mi templo, tiembla el pavimento. Cuando yo me concentro, mis disparos son temas. La calle un poema se siente desde cuando entro. Y a toditos estos drogaditos que creen que rapean, los regreso al centro de mi balcón. Yo he visto el clon del clon en la misma gestión, pero a la malla no llega el balón. Y para esta pantalla no existe patrón. Yo llamo, esa es la cuestión. Y doy fue por cada renglón. Consciente de la operación del final Mbappé con la edad de bufón. De Young, la maldita casa. Plaza de Rey y papá. El Nero Luigi, Black Cimental. Hip hop peruano. Rasgo en la maldita base. Yao, yao, yao.
Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo se queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Busca la luz. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea tu fuerza. Desde aquí iluminamos tu camino. Lucha como nosotros ante esta pena tan grande. Yo soy tú. Tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.